Hi everybody, Snowman NJ here. Um, One of the challenges that we face when we're playing in a tournament is knowing what bet sizes to make and varying our play. So, being the geek that I am, I wrote a program to sort of help me out here. And let me go what you guys think. Um, Effectively, what it does is it just basically randomly generates um, betting patterns for you based on criteria you set. And what we're going to do is I'll show you how this thing works from start to finish. And the first thing we need to do is we need to edit situations. Now this here is the crux of setting up everything. And the way it is organized is you have a situation. In other words, you have a hand. You're at some stage of the game, of the tournament, whether it's early part or the final table or what have you. Another factor that might affect your decision to work with a hand will be the table size. So, at a full table, you might do something differently than say you were in a a short-handed table. Um, Also, another thing that affects how you bet is your position. If you're under the gun or in late position, that may affect how you play certain hands. And then finally, the last thing that uh, affects what your betting decision is the action that you have before you. So, so let's just take something simple. So we have a new situation here. We'll call it premium hands. That'd be aces, kings, queens, ace, king, etc. You'll notice this button came on, which means we're now allowed to enter a stage. So I'm going to put, it's early in the tournament, full table, and a lot of position we'll call it under the gun. And then lastly, we'll set up something called an action, so unopened pot. So what we have here is a situation where you have premium hands early in the tournament. We're sitting at a full table. You're under the gun. Obviously, the pot is unopened. What do you do? Well, down here you'll see these sliders down here, and basically you can either fold, check, call, or raise, and you can adjust the percentages here. So, for example, we're not going to fold, so we just turn that all the way down. Now there's this little lock over here because as you move things out, it sort of, as you move a slider up, it removes evenly from the other two. So to stop that, you lock one so that now only these two operate. So we're going to raise a fair portion of the time. I'd say we'd probably raise it 90% of the time. And you can use the arrow keys to minutely control it. Now, this is merely saying we're raise. How we're going to raise, we can vary as well. So, for example, we can raise normally, 100%, 100% of the time, but we can vary our play here as well. So, we might want to shove 5% of the time. And we might want to raise a high percentage here, maybe 10% of the time. And that, and the whole idea is that basically we are varying our play. So what happens, when we've set this all up? Well, a number of things happen. you'll see that you'll have um, your situation, um, your action before you, and then your position. Up here are two drop-down list boxes, which currently only have one thing in them. Uh, the stage and table, because usually those things don't change very often to keep the screen cluttered down. Basically, these are filters for your thing. So, admittedly, this does not look very appetizing. Yeah, you're seeing raise normal, and that'll change to varying degrees. There's a check call, raise normal, raise high. As you can see, it varies. But we're going to do some of the options here. On this screen here, we can change the refresh rate. The refresh rate is how often this thing here will change, on seconds. And so, basically you want to set that value to how long you figure you can look at the screen and figure out what your particular situation, action, and position are to figure out where it is. So, you want it to keep steady long enough. But we want to make things a little better, a little more readable. So you'll see all these. You can change the fonts to all these different things, and you can change the backgrounds. So for fold, for example, I'm going to change the background. We want a reddish color for that. So as you can see, when you change it, it changes that. So we want to change the font to something better than System. So let's try Tahoma. And we want to change the color to yellow. And we want to make the font a little smaller. So there's what that looks like. So basically, you just go through that. Now my rule of thumb is I'm going to change. Basically, if it's a fold action, it's a red. My motif is going to be a fold is a red action, a check call is a yellow action, and a raise is a green action. So change the background to let's make it a mustardy color. Change the font to Tahoma again. Make that also yellow. Raise low. The background. We're going to make it green, but we're going to make it a weak green because we're raising low, right? Let's take it down to about there. Maybe there. So we go through all this, and basically I'll go through all this real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I've set up all these different colors here. I've left these alone for a minute because I want to explain these differently. The fold star is when basically you've created a situation that hasn't been configured, and that can happen when you add a new situation later in your configuration, and I'll show you what it means. But basically what it means is that it's been set to fold because you haven't set it, so it defaults to fold, and it puts a little asterisk next to it to say, hey, you haven't gotten to this one yet. So I make that a special situation. So we'll change the font to Tahoma. Let's underline it. Let's just make it regular. 10. I'm going to make the color white. Make it gray. and I'm going to change the background to black. The reason I'm changing my background to black is because I want to change the whole screen to black. So it gives a little bit more definition. Now, this NA, there are situations where you can configure, that you'll have, a situation where you're in a position where the action you're facing doesn't make sense. So, for example, being re-raised under the gun, it's not possible, right? So, this particular thing is basically saying this. You've told the system, the program, that this can't happen. So don't pay attention to it. So the foreground font, we'll still make it Tahoma. We'll still make it 10 to make it consistent in size, but we're going to change the background to black. So effectively, it's invisible. So once you've made the change, poof, your whole screen changes, and it's a little bit more appealing to the eye. So I'm going to come back and we're going to add some more things, and we'll talk about some of the things here.